Your roadmap to the latest in auto? Welcome to Highway Herald, where we're diving into one of the biggest trade traffic jams of recent times. In April 2025, the US imposed a 145% tariff on Chinese imports, triggering a supply chain meltdown that's freezing commerce. From the empty silence of California's ports to $14 billion in stranded goods, it's more than a trade spat. It's a nationwide crisis. Even with a temporary 30% tariff relief, the gridlock persists. Let's unpack this turmoil. First up, port gridlock and the $14 billion bottleneck. What was once the bustling hub of American imports, the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach, now stands as a stark symbol of paralysis. Since the 145% tariff took effect, vessel calls have plummeted by an astonishing 44% compared to last year. By mid-May, cargo traffic slowed to a crawl, rivaling the bleakest months of the pandemic. Nearly 80 sailings were canceled in April alone, and the forecast points to even more cancellations ahead. Cranes stand idle, and containers brimming with auto parts and electronics either sit offshore or languish in port yards. According to the Marine Exchange of Southern California, container ship arrivals dropped over 30% in early May. Major alliances like Maersk Hapag-Lloyd and the Ocean Alliance have axed sailings, driven by the collapse of U.S. orders. Meanwhile, Chinese exporters grappling with congested ports like Ningbo and Shanghai are now rerouting shipments to Latin America and Southeast Asia. Amid the chaos, U.S. customs officials are overwhelmed, leaving containers stuck in red tape and warehouses bursting at the seams. But what happens to the people and local economies relying on these ports? Let's find out. Ripple effects on workers and local economies. This port paralysis isn't just a logistical nightmare, it's a body blow to America's workforce. In California alone, nearly 900,000 jobs are tied to trade and logistics. With the ports of LA and Long Beach operating on life support, longshore workers and logistics teams are feeling the heat. Part-time workers are fighting for shifts, while full-timers report drastic cuts in hours. Gary Herrera from ILWU, Local 13 says activity at the docks is even worse than during COVID's worst months. Warehouse volumes are plummeting and ripple effects are hitting logistics hubs like the Inland Empire. Truckers are equally hard hit. Eric Tate from Teamsters, Local 848 reports many drivers scraping by with only a couple of days' work each week. Nationwide, DAT Freight and Analytics estimates 700,000 truckloads disappeared in just 2 weeks. Beyond the port gates, local businesses are suffering. Neighborhood diners, repair shops, and small retailers reliant on port traffic are seeing spending evaporate. With container activity down double digits in places like Long Beach and Oakland, it's not just a local issue, it's a nationwide crisis that's hammering every link in the supply chain. Before we delve deeper, don't forget to subscribe to Highway Herald. Your support fuels our drive to bring you more updates like this. Now, let's turn the page to the retail sector and see how Main Street is coping. Retailers in crisis, from Walmart to Main Street. The National Retail Federation has sounded the alarm. U.S. imports are projected to fall by 20% in the second half of 2025. For major retailers like Walmart, this means raising prices and cutting back on product orders to weather the storm. But smaller businesses with thinner profit margins are in dire straits. The 145% tariff has made it nearly impossible for them to import essentials like phone accessories and tools without slashing margins to the bone. Consumers are seeing the fallout on store shelves: less choice, rising prices, and longer wait times. Walmart has already stopped stocking certain products that consumers balk at paying higher prices for. While sourcing from countries like Vietnam or Mexico sounds like a fix, it's anything but simple. Vietnamese factories are overwhelmed, global demand is spiking, and U.S. reshoring would take years of costly investment. With only a temporary tariff relief in place, retailers are left guessing and gambling on what comes next, facing a future defined by uncertainty. But it's not just the retail world feeling the squeeze. Let's zoom in on how this crisis is shaking up manufacturing. The domino collapse in logistics and manufacturing. The current logistics gridlock is exposing how fragile America's economy truly is, with the automotive sector taking a particularly hard hit. In states like Michigan and Tennessee, assembly lines reliant on Chinese microchips and specialty parts have scaled back shifts or even halted production. Service departments and aftermarket suppliers are also feeling the pinch as they struggle to source parts for Asian-branded vehicles. U.S. GDP dipped by 0.3% in April, the first contraction since the pandemic, and experts are warning of further economic trouble ahead. Railroads have cut back long-haul container runs. Trucking companies are downsizing, and port city warehouses are either empty or packed to capacity with unprocessed cargo. This isn't just a temporary headache, it's a serious industrial logjam. Delays in materials are affecting industries from tech to aerospace and defense, with inflation risks looming large. As the 90-day tariff reprieve ticks down, businesses are scrambling for solutions. But the longer this uncertainty drags on, the bigger the risk to America's manufacturing foundation. So, how is China responding to this global shakeup? Let's explore China's response and the global realignment. China is adjusting to the trade war, shifting focus away from the US and strengthening ties with ASEAN, Latin America, and Africa to reduce its dependence on American consumers. Ports like Ningbo and Shanghai are rerouting goods once headed for the US to countries like Brazil, South Africa, and Europe. However, this pivot isn't an overnight fix. Youth unemployment in China remains high, and sectors heavily reliant on US demand, like electronics and auto parts, are struggling to find new buyers. Meanwhile, America's hopes of bringing manufacturing back home face significant hurdles. While countries like Vietnam, Thailand, and Indonesia offer some alternatives, none can match China's scale and capacity. The Philippines and India are potential options, but political risk and infrastructure gaps are major challenges. Even if American factories ramped up today, replacing China's output would take years. With $14 billion in cargo already lost or redirected, this isn't just a disruption, it's a major shift in global trade, and the end is far from clear. With all these shifts, let's pull it together in our final verdict. Verdict: tariffs, trade, and turmoil. Who really wins this standoff? From the eerily quiet cranes at the ports of Los Angeles to the parked truck fleets in the Midwest, the fallout from the US-China tariff clash is undeniable. The administration may call it a step toward economic independence, but the damage is immense. $14 billion in goods either lost or rerouted, tens of thousands of workers left with uncertainty, and ripple effects from factory floors to neighborhood stores. The temporary tariff truce might buy a brief reprieve, but the bigger question remains. Is this just the beginning of a permanent shakeup? Can America's supply chain recover its former resilience? Or are we witnessing the start of a long-term realignment? Will China's pivot to new markets pay off, or will it find itself more vulnerable than before? And for everyday consumers, what does it all mean when you're trying to find that crucial auto part or gadget? We'd love to hear what you think. Drop your thoughts, experiences, and predictions in the comments below. And don't forget, subscribe to Highway Herald to stay on top of the latest updates and deep dives into the automotive world. Thanks for watching and see you next time. You can now check out any of the videos on the screen. There's more exciting and informative content waiting for you.